Hello. Is anybody out there in the Facebook world? So hopefully you can hear me and see me okay. You might even get a little bit of dog barking and some other noise from my home to your home. Okay. So good to see people joining in from all over. Let's see, Arizona and California represented. All right. So, in Colorado. So I just wanted to start kind of a little closer than when I'm going to do the standing work, because I wanted us to start with some hand warm-ups. So let's just begin. Any seated or standing position that's comfortable for you. We will be doing the rest of this standing, but just to start off, I want to address these poor hands that are probably doing a lot more typing than normal these days. So let's begin just by opening the fingers really wide so you feel the thumb and the index finger moving as far away as possible. Another example of our social distancing, yeah? So fingers are now socially distant from each other. Okay, and then you're going to make a fist. And you notice how close in and compacted that fist is. Now we're going to go halfway in between those two positions in something I call a bear claw. So in the bear claw, you have these knuckle joints engaged to some degree. So if you look at it from the side, yeah, see it's kind of like a bear claw. Okay, so you've got this halfway position. So we're going to go between these three positions, back and forth. So let's start in the open, bear claw, and then fist. Bear claw, and then open. And as you start to become accustomed to these different positions, the bear claw one is probably new for you. So as you grow more used to these different positions, start to see if you can focus on a particular finger. Maybe this time just the pinky fingers, or this time just the ring fingers. Notice the range of motion that that particular finger is going through as you make this motion. Okay, now just do one hand at a time. So bear claw, open, bear claw, fist. Other hand, bear claw, open, bear claw, fist. Start to smooth it out. And you'll notice as you're doing this one at a time, you'll start to look like a cat kneading. If you've ever seen a cat do this, or maybe had a cat do this on you. Now, see if you can do this, not just one hand at a time, but one finger at a time. One finger at a time. And I do little pinky. I like the little pinky to lead. In my hand, it's the most flexible. It might not be for you, but my hand, the pinky, is the most flexible. And it's always wanted to be the star of the show. Never really got a chance to do that. Yeah. One more to each side. This is just our kind of prelude, my musician friends. Okay, and then just kind of shake that up. See how that feels. Now I'm going to go ahead and stand up. I invite you to stand up with me. And we're going to come into a position called Wuji. So I want you to stand with your feet as wide as your shoulders, as if someone were standing on your shoulders, and that's the width that you want your feet. Put more of the weight in your heels and soften the backs of your knees. And then let your pelvis slightly tuck, almost like you're getting ready to sit down on a very high bar stool. At the same time that you tuck the pelvis, also lengthen up through the back of the head. So you start to feel this subtle separation of the spine, very small lengthening of the spine. Shoulders relax. And then we set the arms as if there's an egg underneath each armpit. Elbows soften. And then these glorious hands that are doing all this work finally get to relax. Just take a moment there, breathing and feeling. We're going to revisit this at the end of our practice and just see if anything has changed. All right, now going back to the hands, I'd like to show you a movement that incorporates the hands, the wrists, the elbows, and the shoulders. Okay, so a lot to think about. So we're going to take it in stages. So the first stage, we're just going to feel a pressing outward of the palms. So the fingers are pulled back towards the forearms, and you're just pushing out, yeah, with the palms. And let your shoulders relax. Let your chest relax. Good. And then pause there for a moment. Keep breathing, but pause. So notice that my elbows aren't straight. They're slightly bent, but there's a lot of activity going on through my arms. So even though my arms aren't straight, they're also not limp. Yeah? So feel that kind of tension through the tissues as you reach out. Good. And then keep that tension as you roll the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist so that the fingers are now pointed down. Okay, so you're still pushing out through the palms. Now, one finger at a time, just like when you were doing that cat kneading position, one finger at a time, pull the fingers into your palms, and then flex at the wrist, flex at the elbows, bring your knuckles up to your shoulders, and then keep going. Curl the elbows up towards the ceiling and let that lift you, get taller, get taller, get taller. Take a breath in. Oh, you're so tall. You can't handle it anymore. There's so much breath and so much height. You have to come down. So you exhale and you push forward. Yeah. And then we're going to roll the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists. Exhale, curl the fingers in one finger at a time. Bend the wrist, bend the elbow, bend the shoulders. Reach the elbows up, 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 up. Lengthen, breathe in. And then exhale, push out. Inhale, roll shoulders, elbows, wrists. Exhale, curl the fingers, wrists, elbows, shoulders, elbows up. Exhale, push forward. Good. Inhale, roll shoulders, elbows, wrists. Exhale, curl in and up, lengthening. And exhale, push out. Do that one more time, please. Roll the arms, curl in, up, 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 up. Exhale, push out. Inhale, roll the arms, curl in, lift up, lengthen, and exhale, push out. And then just let the arms drop. Find your Wu-Ji. Weight in the heels, knees soft. Tuck the pelvis slightly. At the same time, lengthen the back of your neck. Put that imaginary egg underneath your armpit and relax your fingers, relax your elbows. Notice your breathing. Notice how the upper body feels. Okay, now we're going to take our hands to our hips and not move the hips very much at all. That's what the hands here are indicating. We're going to hold them in place. And then just start to circle the torso around the hips. Just see what you can do. And you might even be able to go backwards somewhat. But definitely don't go so far in a circle that you feel a crunching in the back or some other pain in the body. Okay? Just do the circle in this direction one more time. If you've been doing a lot of sitting, ooh, aren't we doing a lot of sitting these days? Go the other way now. So you might start to hear some creaks and cracks in the back, maybe even in the hips or knees. Yeah, and this can be done sitting as well. Usually when I teach it in my yoga classes, we are sitting in a cross-legged position. Okay, now come back to center, and you're going to return to that first direction, but this time try not to move the head at all. So keep your hips still, keep your head still, and circle the rib cage around. Now, I don't know about you, but this is the one that gets me very creaky and cracky, and you might even get to hear some adjustments in my back as they happen. Yeah, now if you're not sure whether your head is moving or not, chances are if it feels very comfortable and very relaxed, then you're probably moving your head. It should feel awkward. Yeah. And you can let the shoulders kind of do their thing, moving a little bit forward and back. Good. And then let's do one more circle in this direction. Oh, that's yummy. And then we go the other direction. So most of us deal with some type of asymmetry in the body, in the spine. Some of us have a bit more obvious asymmetry, what we call scoliosis. I find for my scoliosis, this movement here is super beneficial to do every day. And then after a little while, after a few repetitions, it's not so loud with the cracks. It's a little quieter. Oh, one more in this direction. Okay, and then we'll come back to center. And then we're going to shift now down to the hips. So place your hands on the hips. This time we are going to let the hips move, but what I'd like you to do is focus just on the right hip. So I'm just going to let my left arm hang, and I want you to just focus on your right hip, circling it around in its maximum range of motion. May not actually be a circle that you're making. It might be some other interesting shape. Yeah, but just really focus on that right hip where the thigh bone meets the pelvis. All of those structures in there. Do one more this direction. And then we'll go the other direction. And like I was saying, we do have asymmetries in our body. I find that my two hips are very different. And one is like a child that doesn't get enough attention and is always acting out in order to get attention. That's my right hip. So it's constantly complaining. It's constantly giving me feedback, sensation, and weakness sometimes even. Whereas the left hip doesn't talk to me very much at all. Oh, but I still love them equally. Okay, last one in this direction for this hip. And then we're going to come back to center and we'll switch hands. So now we're going to focus on the left hip. Let the right arm just be heavy. Right hip is going to be moving, but we're going to shush it and focus on that quiet hip, in my body at least. This might be your noisy hip. I don't know. So we're focusing on that left hip now, swinging it around into its maximum range of motion. But we also want to stay within a comfort level. So we don't want to go to the edge every single time. So once you find that edge, back off. Probably should have mentioned that on the other hip. Sorry. So you're swinging that left hip around to its maximum edge. Once you find that maximum edge, then you tiptoe up to it, but don't go past it. And if this is your quieter hip, you'll need to be a little bit quieter to pay attention to it, because it will talk to you. It's just quieter. It'll whisper rather than shout. Let's do one more circle in this direction. Oh, that feels good. And then the other direction. And we'll go one more round. And then we'll come back to center. Whew. Find our Wuji stance again. So weight is in the heels, knees are unlocked. Slight tuck to the pelvis, almost like you're sitting down on a bar stool. Put an imaginary egg underneath each armpit and relax your wrists and your elbows. Lengthen through the back of your neck. And then an important piece that I forgot to mention at the beginning, offer a slight smile to your face. And this is a good way to take a different perspective. And in the big scheme of things, right, this practice, this body, these circumstances, not so important. Let's take a couple of breaths there and feel how things have changed through your hands, through your elbows, through your shoulders, through your neck, your spine, your hips. Lovely. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for taking care of these bodies. Let's step the feet together. And in any way that demonstrates gratitude, please offer that now. Thank you. Be good.